Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Alienist Angels of Darkness, the Rundown Review. To a very watered down season. I still like this show, but this second season was underwhelming. It didn't feel nothing like the first season at all. The first season, even though only 10 episodes, felt like it was a lot longer. It felt like they did a whole lot more and they had a whole lot more interaction with the characters. In this, in all honesty, it just felt like the Sarah show. And the men played like not even so much second fiddle, but like third to like all like her and like the other female characters and stuff. And I love the Sarah character. Now, if they were to do a spin-off with her, that would have been fine. But this show isn't called the Sarah Howard show. It's called The Alienist for a reason. And so when people watch this show, you want to see Laszlo front and center and everybody else, but he was barely in this season and he barely did anything. And he really didn't even do his job as an alienist, to tell you the truth. He really didn't even do that much psycho babble type stuff. And it was just kind of jarring at times. It was kind of like, I remember when I first watched this, like when it first came out, about like 2 years ago, I was just kind of like, man, this season just wasn't as good as the first. And so when I rewatched it again, I'm still feeling that same exact way. And it's because it felt like the Sarah show and everything. And like I said before, if it was to be a spinoff, that would have been fine. But this isn't a spinoff. And so I will say this finale served as both like a season. Ooh, my bad. I'm so tired. I just woke up and it's like 1 something in the morning. I'm yawning over here. But this episode is served as like two things, like a season and a series finale. So if it was to end like this, it felt like, everything's wrapped up and stuff like that. Because there's still no word there's going to be a third season. Now, the second season came out of nowhere with like no hype, no word, no nothing. And people wasn't sure if it was even made or not. It got made like in secret. And so if that's the case here, then expect to see the third season soon, but who knows, you know what I'm saying? There's really no telling. Now, this show is filmed in Hungary. That's why it has such beautiful, rich looking, old school, like buildings and everything. But even this season lacked in that. Like, it it's weird because like when I remember watching the first season and I saw all the building, I'm like, wow, man, look at that. And of course they CGI'd in the Statue of Liberty. But this season it's just like you still got that rich scenery, but it just doesn't feel as rich as before. They didn't take the focus to emphasize like the city in the different camera angles and this and that. Like I remember like last season when they chased the dude with the silver smile on the bridge, they turned the camera in a certain way to look like it was tilted, to like he was running up the bridge and stuff in a slant. You see none of that this season. Even the intro is kind of like boring a little bit. Like it's just a very lackluster season and stuff. Because I also remember in the first season, in the very first episode, the very first scene, got the cop on the bridge. He sees the dead boy. He bangs on the pole to let the other cops know. And it was like a very striking like scene. It's you getting nothing like that here. Nothing whatsoever in the season. It just feels very watered down and stuff. And I don't know if the second season was made during the pandemic or not. It might have been maybe before or after. I don't know, but it just doesn't feel the same. But it's not even just that. It's the writing. It's the dialogue. Um, it's just that there's barely nothing going on. Like the reason why I haven't talked about episode 6 or 7 is because even though some stuff happens, it's like no big whoop. You know what I'm saying? Like all it is just like Libby she steals another baby. We find out who she really is and her real name. I think they say it was like Elizabeth and stuff. And so it's like we find out she grew up in a very rich, like established home, and but then when her dad killed himself, the mom decided she didn't want Libby or the granddaughter, so she got rid of both of them. She lied about Libby attacking her with a knife, and she cut her own face. Also, it's like, police corruption was a big thing in the first season, and it still is in the second, but you really don't see that much. It's still just Barnes being his corrupt little self, and Dole is like barely present. This might have been made during the pandemic. That could be why it feels the way it is. But then that still don't explain why a lot of the male characters are barely in this show. Like Stevie, even like Stevie, like I kid you not, he was only in 2 episodes and he has a runtime of screen time of only like 20 seconds. And they recast the character. What was the point in recasting him if they weren't gonna have him in it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they could just left his character completely out, and he didn't even do what he did in the books in the second season. This time he has an addiction to like cigarettes, which Laszlo doesn't like, and they don't show that. We see John smoking a whole lot more. John has stopped drinking. Good for that. But it's just like I don't know. Like Cyrus is another character. Cyrus in the books, him and Stevie are still working for Laszlo, but now this time, Cyrus has opened up a bar I told you about. And he allows all these gangster and thugs to go in his bar, which makes no sense because that's not the type of person he is. But of course, this helps with the story and stuff, but not by much. And the only screen time we see of him is like little. He gets 5 minutes of screen time within an entire 8 episode arc. And so, like, I just really don't understand what the world they was going for in this season. And then, so he tells Laszlo, because Laszlo opened up an institute in his home for like young little kids to live in and stuff. And he said that lifestyle just wasn't for him. And he had to move away from that. So he opened up a bar. But what was the point in doing all that if that's not how the book goes, you know? And so I do wonder what's all in the book in the second book. Like how much were the guys in that book because they were barely present in this. John had a lot of screen time only because he was hanging out with Sarah and because Sarah was the main focus, so he got to hang out with her. But then Laszlo, it's just so strange. It's like he opened up an institute for like young kids, and he's still doing his council stuff. But throughout the entire season, he didn't really analyze what was really going on and trying to get in the head of the killer. Sarah did all that. And then next thing you know, when they do call him in, like say like the 8th episode, when he has to talk to because Libby doesn't want to give up the location of the baby. They finally captured her. And the police are interrogating her. They're giving her the water head dunking treatment, and she's not like giving up the location. So Barnes has finally given up. He's all like, "Look, you do your psycho Bible on her. Maybe she'll tell." And before he's going to do that, he tells Sarah, "You would be the best person to do this because you have a bond, a connection with her." The only bond they have is when they first met in episode 3, and they hung out, and they had the connection of both their dads committed suicide, and that's literally it. Ever since then, Libby has been trying to kill Sarah and everything. So it's not like, but then of course, so she goes in there and she talks to her and she gives up the location, and it's just like, so what the point was Laszlo even doing there if he wasn't even going to do his alienist type thing to like, um, to figure out anything? And like the only purpose he served was to put that one lady under hypnosis and try to find who the killer is. And his whole thing, he's been hanging out with that Staten lady, which is an interesting theory. Like, okay, there's a person on Reddit, and they believe that Staten lady might be a hallucination of him because of the loss of Mary a year prior. Because they say the reason for that is because nobody ever talks to the Staten lady except for him. And then she just appeared out of nowhere, standing behind him, talking to him. And she's also an alienist, but she does not help. Like Sarah doesn't ask for her help in the case, even though Sarah knows that she's an alienist. And also, but she does help Laszlo try to figure some things out, even though Laszlo is not really trying to figure out this case. And so I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. And then towards the end, she leaves to go to Paris and she wants to take him with her. And so it's kind of like, this is that theory might make some sense. But then in one episode, she takes him to like this gay brothel and everything, and she introduces him to a woman who has both like female and male genitalia. And so like I'm thinking, okay, if she's at this party and people are looking at her and interacting with her, she can't be a hallucination unless he's hallucinating the gay brothel as well too. And then I think he might have introduced, he keeps telling everybody about her, and everybody's all like, oh, that's great, but we never see her interact with nobody. So now that's starting to make me kind of wonder, is she a hallucination or not? But then what about the whole brothel thing? And what was really the point in going to the brothel? Because the information he learned did not help him at all with the case and stuff. And so it's just kind of strange that the main character of this show, who, you know, it's called the alienist, he's an alienist, doesn't do much in the second season. Like when I say he doesn't do much, my God, he does not do much whatsoever. And it's just like very striking and stuff. And so the Isaacson brothers, they still have like the littlest screen time, just the same thing as they had in the first season. It would have been nice to expand their characters and get to know them a whole lot better. But the show doesn't do that, and they barely show up in the show. And so, like, because they really had little screen time last season. Like, all you know about them, they live at home with their mom. One of them was banging a girl, and that's it. And the forensics do. One carries the gun, the other one doesn't. But in this season, one of them ends up dying. And it's Marcus. So, like, okay, Lucas, he has a thing going on with Bitsy, but, like, it's not really shown throughout the show. It's just like they see each other like wink or talk to each other, and then they talk about, oh, how he was supposed to go on a date with her, but something happened, and that's about it. There's really no love connection. They don't hug, they don't talk, they don't hold hands, they don't kiss, they don't do nothing. So why was it set up that they have some kind of connection and they don't do nothing? And so, and of course, he's the most uninteresting one. So they killed the interesting one from like first season. But even the one from interesting one from last season doesn't do much. And then he dies in the dumbest way. He literally has his gun pointed at the killer, and he asks, "What are you doing?" And then the killer just shoots him with a shotgun, and it's just a rifle and stuff. And it's just like, what? I don't get this. And but even though it is very more female centered, like with Sarah and stuff, even the females for the most part don't do nothing. Bitsy has that one scene in the fourth episode that's really good. After that, she just goes to being an assistant. I don't know the other girl name. I forgot the other girl. But the other assistant girl, she doesn't do much of nothing. She barely says anything. What was the point of even having her on the show? They could have gave that role to Joanna. Speaking of Joanna, Joanna's in more episodes than she was last season, and she's in more episodes than that of Cyrus, because she's the Cyrus niece. But they don't do nothing with her either. Like, what was the point of having her on the show? Is it like, what, this is the show that white people don't like black folks back in those days and stuff? Because they like Cyrus and everything. But it's just like, she was brought in, she's working with Cyrus in the bar. Then they find out, you know, she had this degree in journalism, that she wrote some stuff. John gets her a job there. She helps Sarah out only to see her do stuff off screen and not on screen. And then after that, she disappears only to come back. And John's all like, well, I have a promotion. I want you to work for me. She's like, no, I'm going to go to Boston and work for that newspaper and stuff. And it's just like, so what was the point of having her in the show and doing all this stuff? What the world was she doing at that party, dressed up and like looking for information, but we don't see her looking for nothing. It's like it was like a wasted opportunity for a character that could have been interesting and stuff. So I really don't understand that. Now I will say a good thing about this season when it does focus on Sarah, we get more Sarah. She's a whole lot more interesting of a character because she's more emotional and vulnerable than she was last season. Last season she was so stiff. Some people found her like annoying at times. And so this season, she has a lot more emotion going on. She took the events of first season very seriously, and she literally carries the gun around with her everywhere she goes. So for that one time when she really needed it and didn't have it, and so in this season, she is not afraid to shoot nobody because she will, and it's just like she does some great detective work in this season. That's why I would love for her to have her own spin-off show. But it's weird because like when the detective stuff she was doing was some of the things the Isaacson brothers were doing last season, and like trying to analyze the whole case, something Laszlo does, and she does that this season. So that was great to see because she's learning from them, but at the same time, let them do what they do and let her do what she does. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so like the whole thing between her and John is back and forth. Will they? Won't they? Will they? Won't they? We find out why they broke up after that year is because he wants a family and to be married and all that other stuff, and she just wants her job and she doesn't want any of that. But then she still has an affair with him, only for him to stay with his fiancee because she says she is pregnant. We don't know if she's really pregnant or she's just saying that to keep John. So it's like, who knows? And as for John, they never explain how he went from being a cartoonist to a journalist in the second season. Now, in the books, he's a journalist. So I guess the fans are all like, hey, make him a journalist. So they did. And so, like, he helped Sarah out with the case, but he doesn't help out the way he helped out last season. And last season, he really got himself involved to the point of getting beat up, to the point of almost being assaulted, like sexually assaulted, to the point of him being drugged. And this season, he only gets roughed up by Gugu Knox, like the gangster dude, but that's about it. And so then, of course, like the killer lady, Libby, she tries to like cut his throat, only for Sarah to save him once again. It's like I get it, like he's always been like the softy and everything, but they could have manned him up a little bit, like you know what I'm saying? Like he literally goes after killers, and but then he always has to be rescued this season, and always has to be rescued by her. Whereas last season, like I don't think nobody rescued him and stuff like that. And so it's like, so it would have been nice if they would explain how he went from being a cartoonist to that of a journalist and stuff. And not only that, but he now has a huge promotion from winning this case. And I just don't get that. Now, as for the killers, like it's weird. Google not supposed to be this big time gangster who literally chops up bodies and everything and feeds them to dogs. But yet he takes all his orders from Libby, the killer of the show. And it's kind of like, well, shouldn't he be bossing her around? But no, because they're dating, she's bossing him around. And she's not that like strong of a woman. She's just like nuts in the head. So he does toughen up to her at some points, but not enough. So it's this kind of weird. Now, as for the killer, she plays a great like nut job and everything. Like she is literally psychotic in the head, but she is very disturbed because see her mom took her daughter away from her and put her in a mental hospital and because she lied on her and everything. And so the girl was once innocent and became corrupt. And then she started hanging out with the bad boys and stuff. So she's very psychologically damaged in the head. And she plays that very well. And that was great to see. Other than that, she never felt like a threat. Like she only killed one baby because her thing is she kills babies. She only killed one baby. Other than that, she kidnapped the rest. And we see her as like nuts and everything, but that's about it. And so when they revealed her, in the fourth episode, it's kind of like, okay, this could work. Whenever we see her on screen interacting with regular people, we could have some tension, like, oh no, is she gonna harm them or not? I never felt that in this entire season. Other than when she actually just literally put something to somebody's throat and tried to kill them all the time. Other than that, she wasn't much of a villain. She was just a troubled woman and stuff. And so, like, all the detective work that they did do in this season, like I said before, as comparison to that of the first season, it wasn't much. Like, it was mostly this whole season revolved around John loving his fiance, loving Sarah, and will they, won't they? That's really what the whole season was really about. And they didn't go to all these like different locations when doing the investigation type stuff. Um, there weren't that many clues. When there was a clue, they figured things out within seconds. Like the Isaacson brothers figured out it was poison within seconds of just looking at the baby, and didn't even do that much research and stuff. And as last season, they did a lot of extensive research. They were getting things wrong. That's what make detective shows fun, when they get it wrong and they try to figure things out. But in this one, they didn't. They were just getting things left and right, like right and everything. And it did not build up to no type of suspense. Even when she kidnapped a baby, yeah, that was like scary and everything, but they kept finding the babies, or she just give them back, and so it didn't feel suspenseful whatsoever. And it was just like a dull season. Like, it was still good, but it just was not as great as last season. Last season had something you could sink your teeth into. It made you worry. This never made me feel worried and stuff. And then when I did start to feel worried, they just wrapped things up like really fast. And so, like, that just made no sense. So now the team is going in their different directions. Laszlo went to Paris with his alienist friend. Lucas is mourning the death of his brother. Sarah is still doing her detective thing in her agency. Now she's hired more women because she wants it to be a female-driven thing. Um, and then, like, John, he's just gonna stay with his fiance, who he kind of still loves, but he's in love with Sarah more. But he's gonna have a baby now, and so it's just. And Cyrus is still doing the whole bar thing. Joanna went to Boston. It's just like, it's just like everybody just went their own way and it's wrapped up in a nice little bow, and like it could be served like a series finale and everything. And like that was great. They did the whole woman power thing. We got to see like the suffrage type thing and the movement and all this other stuff. But it's kind of like, why why distance themselves from the male characters? I just don't understand that. And I don't know where Stevie went. So yeah, I still think this was a good season. I just don't think it was great. Um, it just felt like watered down from the last one. Now, if they do come up with a third season, I worry because it's set in our day, the present day. Cause a guy who's obsessed with Laszlo, he's trying to solve murders and stuff. So if they were to show Laszlo and them, it would have to be flashbacks. And if they don't do that and they just do their own thing, will they be strong enough to write their own stuff without source material? Now, if they get a fourth season, like I said before, that revolves around a young Laszlo. So there would be no other main characters that we love and everything. And they'll have to find somebody who can like have that same presence as like the actor. Can they do that? Hey, who knows, Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.